Canyonlands of southern Utah, an unforgiving landscape of scorched earth and sudden drops. I'll attempt to retrace the steps of Les Stroud, also known as Survivorman, who spent 6 days hunting for water in this barren wasteland. 7 years ago, Les reached out to his fans to submit a video for a chance to be on his show. I didn't win, but I'll stalk him nonetheless. I'll face mountain lions, bobcats, rattlesnakes, hantavirus, and bubonic plague. Survivorman visited in the spring, but I'll be here in the hottest part of summer, with temperatures topping 103 degrees. Watch as I take a quick drink of water and set out into the desert looking for his camp. How long would it take me to find it? How many hills would I have to climb? As the sun grew higher than the sky and the noonday heat took its toll, I began to lose hope, but I chose to persevere until, at last, I found what I'd been looking for. No way! Oh, that's sick! That's sick! Oh, man! I can't believe I found it. 19 years ago, Les Stroud slept under that Utah juniper, and tonight I'm gonna do the same. Looks like I've got about 1.5 hours until sundown, and I've got a lot to clean up. Hey, can you hear that jet way up there? Right now those people are eating gefilte fish. This up here is a pinyon pine. So even though it may look very similar to the juniper, you can see the needles are a lot more like traditional pine needles. I've gone 12 hours now without any food, and I am feeling it. And I've been chugging water, but my energy's completely sapped. And I have, during my wilderness survival class, we went about 36 hours without eating anything. And I just slept most of the day. You don't have much energy at all. Well, it looks like after 19 years, not much has changed. And that was one of the things that Survivorman said he was upset about, is that the crew didn't come back and clean this up. Well, maybe now's an opportunity for me. So what I've got to be careful with in cleaning all this up is there's probably going to be some scorpions in here. It looks like some rats were digging in the back and made a tunnel. There's a giant cobweb here, so I don't know what kind of spider is going to be here. There are tarantulas in the south, but tarantulas are actually pretty docile for the most part. Mostly, I think I'm going to worry about all the cactus that somebody threw on here. But I'm going to try and get all this, gather it up, and scatter it around so it looks a little bit more natural. One danger I failed to mention, but was actually top of my mind, was rattlesnakes. Many people have lost an arm or a leg, even their own lives, when they reached down to pick up something and were bit. Rattlesnakes are pit vipers, meaning they use infrared to see, so they may not notice your approach until you lift up a branch, and it's too late. I had to stop and take a breather because I was starting to overheat. I don't know what temperature it is now, but it was over 100 degrees 2 hours ago. So I am still cooking. The funny thing about the Utah desert is it's a high desert. So it can be scorching hot during the day, but get down to freezing at night. I don't think it'll actually go to freezing tonight, but it'll get really frigid. It's actually a lot bigger project than I thought it was going to be. A lot of heavy limbs, a lot of heavy rocks. The sun is finally going down, so it's going to start getting cold pretty fast. But I'm almost done cleaning up that giant mess. There was a lot of heavy stuff, a lot. And a lot of rat poop, so I had to be careful every time I'd pull something out or brush something aside. A big old dust cloud would raise up, and there's hantavirus and bubonic plague in this area still. So I've got to be careful about that. But I think I'm almost done. So I think I've done everything that I have the energy to do, and it does look a lot better than how I found it. And don't get me wrong, guys, I don't care about every single tree in the forest, but it's just a part of being a responsible outdoors person, is making sure you leave no trace. If just 5 people went out and did something like this, like Les Stroud did for the last 19 years, then that'd be just under 100. Would that be 95? 95 campsites like this across this wilderness. So you can imagine how important it is to leave no trace. That's all I'm saying. Another chunk of charcoal. $50. You know, now that I'm older than I was when I first watched Survivorman, I think some of the magic has left, just a little bit. It's almost like finding out how a magic trick is done. Let me show you what I mean. There's the road. So do you feel deceived by my introduction? I mean, I didn't tell you I hiked in a bunch of miles to get here. You assumed that. But there's kind of something about the way I presented it that felt dishonest, wasn't there? But then, maybe that's just me as an artist and an entertainer and an educator trying to make good storytelling so that I get people interested in something that I'm passionate about. I mean, after all, is a photographer being dishonest if they choose what to include in the frame and what not to? Even on their cell phones, they've got filters, so is that being dishonest? However, I think we could all agree, if something was added to the picture after it was taken, then that seems a little bit dishonest. What if I also told you in my introduction that it would take about 3 days for me to ride out of here on my bike? Now, Tikaboo is about 15 miles away, and they have a hotel and a gas station. I would kind of consider that getting back to civilization where I can get help. But going north, it would be about 40 miles until you get to Hanksville. Still, I don't think that would take 3 days. I don't know about you, but I had a different feeling when I saw Survivorman than I did coming out here. But come on, Derek, you didn't expect there to be no exaggeration in the storytelling, did you? I think more than anything, it's best described how my coworker said it. It's just kind of a letdown. Those of you who follow my channel know that I've hiked halfway through Utah now, going north to south, and have another halfway to go, obviously. And in all those miles, I can tell you, it's really hard to be very far from any road. In fact, the most remote area in the lower 48 states, Thoroughfare Ranger Station in Yellowstone, is 21.7 miles from any road, and even there, about 7/10 of a mile away from any trail, you'll find a cabin just about that far away. You'll still come across hunters, you'll still see low-flying aircraft in the sky. So I don't fault Les for being this close to a road. In my much older opinion now, even though the way he tells his stories of survival is exaggerated, I still regard him as one of the most authentic survival shows, if not the most authentic. I saw a bat earlier that was flying low over my head. I was hoping to catch it on film, but it looks like it's moved on. It's probably hunting for mosquitoes. Mosquitoes came out in force a little bit earlier and just started swarming me. So if I don't die of bubonic plague or hantavirus, then I'm sure West Nile virus will get me. There's a lot to worry about out here, but I guess that's all part of survival. As soon as I get settled in, a thunderstorm is rolling in. It's going to be a long night. Unfortunately for me, there's a fire ban in this whole area right now, so I can't have any fire going to keep me warm through the night. Somehow, I'm going to have to make it especially when there's these dark storm clouds above. I guess that means I'm just gonna have to curl up next to my pack and stick it out for the night. Wish me luck. It might get chilly. That was a pretty long night. I slept off and on, but it was pretty warm. I think it only got down to 80 degrees. It's quite nice. There were thunderstorms to my north and south. I could see plenty of lightning and hear thunder, but I managed to stay dry. I better get going before that scorching desert heat comes up over the horizon. Oh, and I didn't sleep here. You assumed that. And I have every reason to believe that Les Stroud slept here through the night for several nights, but unfortunately now it's left a lot of doubts in my mind. Les was the only one there. Only he knows for sure. But let me show you something else. This time of year, there's not water down in the canyon cut, but it is a significant drop. It must be frustrating being up here and coming down trying to get to the water in the canyon and not being able to. And yeah, it's about a 30-foot drop. So there's nothing in the canyon right now. You ever been with somebody fishing and they catch a fish and then later on when they're describing that fish to somebody else, they describe it as way bigger than it actually was? Well, in Les's director's commentary, he says you could travel for miles and still not be able to get to the bottom of the canyon and out. And that's a little bit of a big fish tale to me. Clearly he didn't try very hard to find a way down to the bottom, because that's not true at all. But then I probably wouldn't have tried for miles to find the bottom anyway either. You know, it is a little bit disappointing that the magic is taken away a little bit, but I can't really fault him. After all, how far do we really have to go to prove that we're in some kind of situation? Did he literally have to walk for miles up and down to make sure that there was no way down into the creek? You know, do we have to send out a drone and show the entire area that we're in to prove it? Do we have to show a time lapse of us sleeping underneath a tree somewhere to prove to everybody that we slept there? I think at some point, certainly the point of the story is lost if you go that far. And so it is important to have some creative storytelling. I will say though, I think in this case of this episode, you probably took it, in my opinion, a little too far with the creativeness. Maybe corporate did that to you, but at the end of the day, man, you make some fantastic shows. I love them, and I can't stop watching them. I just keep revisiting them, so it's pretty awesome. It's just too bad that, yeah, that it's a little bit of a letdown. Now there's an easy way to remember the 5 aspects of survival. First, F, firewood. Well, I've got plenty of firewood right here. A, for astronomical considerations. What's the weather like? Is it going to rain? Probably not. Is it going to scorch and bake me today? Definitely, I got to get out of this sun. K, for killer branches. Do I have any dead standing wood above me? No, this juniper, even after 19 years, is still alive. It's going to be kicking for a long time yet, hopefully, if people don't come and destroy it. E, for everything crawling on the ground. There's little critters and snakes, scorpions around here. I've got to be aware of that because it is summer and I've got to be careful. And there are diseases that can be carried by those critters. And D, for dehydration. Unfortunately, that's a huge reality out here. And I'm going to have to try my best to find some water because that creek is not going to be a good option. It's completely dry. I've got to find somewhere else. Okay, I'm just giving you a hard time. To be honest, you pretty much did everything my survival instructor would have done to go out and to educate somebody and to teach a class. Would have gone away from the road far enough so that it feels like, you know, you're really on your own, and you were. I guess that's the end of this Survivorman camp. It's left me inspired. Inspired to do better in my filmmaking and in my storytelling, but also inspired to make sure that I'm not crossing any lines that I don't want to cross. That the presentation I'm giving is really true to myself and to my viewers. Even though his show made it seem like he hiked to his second camp, he later admitted that he was driven there. Sure enough, it would have taken many days to cross the canyons and mountains in between. 19.5 miles by car. Les said he wanted to show the ecological differences between the two areas. I don't know that they were all that different, but if I asked someone to drop me off in the most inaccessible area they knew, his second camp would be a good choice. Tikaboo is off that way, about 15 miles as the crow flies, but I mean, going down this road was really rough and it was pretty far back in here. I don't think many people get back this way other than those renting the side-by-sides. So I was trying to find his second spot, and I don't think I'm at the right location just because I don't recognize from some of the shots in the episode, I don't recognize the canyons around here. So I'm going to take out the drone and see if I can't explore a little bit more and triangulate where he was really at. I've now confirmed that I'm in the wrong parking area. The real one is about half a mile, probably going, I think that's southeast. I'm thinking down there is water. Big canyon like that, there's got to be a creek. Also, I might be able to take a drink out of the trough right over there and that water tower that fills it up. Oh, it's actually bone dry. Hello! It looks like there's no water here. At least not now, in the middle of summer. You can't imagine what this would look like in the spring or fall when there's a bunch of snow melt, but yeah, speculation. There's the old cattle trail. This canyon is only about 500 feet down, but I mean, somebody said it was 1,500 feet. I don't know that I could fault him for that. It's pretty far down. After reviewing the drone footage, I realized I never found his exact cave, but I know it was there, somewhere. That area really is close to the most inaccessible area in southeastern Utah. Even if a crew was on call, it would have taken over 3 hours to drive to a hospital, and probably even been a long flight for a helicopter. I was lucky my car didn't break down in the heat, and wouldn't recommend anyone visit there in the summer. So what do I think of Les Stroud? Well, he's an amazing educator. He's somebody very passionate about what he does, He was somebody normal just like the rest of us before he was a celebrity. He was just really passionate about something and pursued it and was successful with it. I think any of us would love to attain something like that. I think he's an amazing survivalist. He's very well qualified. He's a great storyteller and entertainer. I hope that I can continue to improve my skills to be more like the filmmaking that he does. So when you're focusing on watching his films, maybe you should focus more on the educational aspect of it, the skills that he's presenting to you. Maybe the scenarios that he's presenting are a little bit fabricated, but it'd be hard not to do that and just be placed in some situation and have things presented to you and still be able to teach those skills that you want to be able to teach. So I can't say that I blame him too much, but it is a little bit of a letdown when you take a look at the man behind the curtain. You kind of see how the sausage is made. It does change things a little bit. But I can't say that I blame him. I deeply respect the man, and I hope he continues to produce amazing content that I'll continue to watch for years and years. Until next time, this is Derek reminding you, you're working too hard. See you next time. Not all that glitters is gold, it would seem. And yet, maybe Les and his production crew did the right thing by telling the story the way they did. After all, it reached millions. But what do you think?